nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm on, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile born, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you are. Keeping it true to form to the L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all. Here we go.
Football fans, and welcome to a special Monday night edition of the Saturday Pigskin, where it is playoff time. Everyone's in, and anything can happen. My name's Brian Skowronski, and I got a couple friends with me as well that are going to drop some awesome knowledge on you. From WMAN, we've got Erik Will in the house, and from the Richland source, Curt Conrad joining us. So fellas, everyone's in the postseason. You know, everything's on the table. Everyone's got a seat. How exciting is this to you?
Oh, man, I think it's great. I was fortunate enough to at least get to call a close game this week with Mansfield playing Southview. And for me, I'm excited to see that game this week as well, 13-6 with Ashland the first time around. Saturday, not so many close games. I know Clear Fork was in a little bit of a dogfight, but Ontario took care of business. Galleon took care of business. You know, some of the bigger schools. How about Plymouth on Friday night as well? Just absolutely boat racing who they played. So you're seeing a lot of distance between the seeding as far as the talent level. So I'm curious to see if that continues into the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on that, I mean, it's I think there's a compelling argument that can be made that they had it right, the playoff system previously when they let the top 8 teams in. There was a lot of one-sided games this weekend, and that was when they took the top seeds. They were out of play because they all had to take byes. Right. All those teams are in play this weekend, so there might be some more one-sided games, but I think beyond that, that's when things really get tight.
Yeah, it's down to the Sweet 16 right now, but it's still like 8 more teams than we are normally used to seeing in the postseason. So like Curt said, we could see a few more lopsided matchups this week. I don't know. You guys tell us. I got you live right here on the Facebook. If you got a question for me, Erik, or Curt, we are live. We are happy to take your questions and might even have an intelligent answer for you. All right, let's go ahead and run back all the moving pictures from the videos that we captured here at the OH Report from the last couple of days right now in the run back. Let's begin on Friday night's games, where Plymouth was hosting the law firm of Lisbon. David Anderson and Josh Stevens gets the Big Red on the board first. It was 8-zip. Now later in the first, Caden Allen's going streaking down the sideline. 14-point cushion for the Big Red. The Devils later on in the game, they tried a little pooch pump of Plymouth having a block party. Noah Trimmer picks it up. He breaks free from the pack, cruising 57 yards. This was never close. Big Red win their first ever playoff game. Curt, you saw it.
Yeah, it was. I thought it would be a little closer, to tell you the truth. David Anderson's from the Youngstown area. Traditionally, it's pretty physical brand of football over there, but it was never close.
Travel to Mount Vernon now, where the Jackets were swarming into the end zone early. 65-yard bomb from Britton Long to Johnny Askew on just the third play from scrimmage. But then the Indians would take over from there. And Stephen Bird was a straight-up savage all night. Kid ran for a $122 and 4 scores as Canal Winchester ripped off 45 consecutive points, holding Mount Vernon to less than 100 yards after that opening possession. Jackets get squashed in their first playoff game since '93, 45-7.
Well, and when you look at Mount Vernon all year, they've been kind of offensively deficient most of the year. Their defense has been solid. But I think they're young. I think they can be excited about next year and really getting to play a few of these other opponents down the stretch, that are non-playoff.
Here we go, West Holmes taking on Madison. This was a 60-plus point game in the regular season. Friday wouldn't go much differently, and Brady Taylor was the major reason why. Kid caught 4 TD passes, or 3 I should say, in the first half of 54, 22, and 33 yards before eventually ripping off this 77-yard scamper to pay dirt. It was all Knights all the way. They're going to advance 45-10, boys.
There was a time not so long ago, and I think we talked about this earlier, when they didn't throw the ball around a lot down at West Holmes, but all of a sudden they've got a real good quarterback, and they are slinging it all over the place.
that being Peyton McKinney, who we're going to find out about from last week here in a little bit, a little foreshadowing. But right now, let's go to Arlen Field, more from the OCC and all those tricky Tigers. Wide receiver toss set in motion. Miles Bradley all alone off the setup from Amar Davis. This would make it 70-3. The only points of the night for the TY Tigers, so that was big. Later, senior high driving, Duke Reese gets picked off by Southview as they were trying to go in for the score. Tyshandre Hall, the intended target. Second half now, Tigers give it away on the doorstep again. Cougars recover for a touchback, but let's call him the Iceman. Avion Gross coming up here is going to have the game icing interception for the win as TY advances 7-3.
Well, one thing that's never in question is their defense. Offensively, there's been some issues this year. Having said that, right now on the doorstep of this game starting, they were handed a freshman quarterback start. So for them to get out of there with the 7-3 win, they'll take it and go play the Arrows next week.
Here's Loudonville at the Castle, where this freshman back, Sam Williams-Dixon, was a free bird all night. He terrorized the Golden Knights. Marcus Cortez, though, with all these cutbacks, would get in from 23 yards out. It was tied at 14, but just too much from the freshman Dirty Bird down the stretch as he carried it 34 times, 253 yards, and 4 scores. Loudonville wins 35-14.
It won't be very long when these two teams are in the same conference. Loudonville joins the KMAC as a football-only member in 2 years, so that's a little sign of things to come.
Let's go to NIST Stadium now, where the Ontario Warriors were scalping some Vermilion Sailors. Everybody was getting involved for the big 0-2, and it was a big night for wideout Griffin Shaver. Look at this effort right here to get in for the touchdown as he shook loose from about 5 different defenders who had a shot at him. Here's Shaver again. Look out as he's going into the end zone. And then later on, another freshman getting into the mix. It's Grayson Ginn, and whoa, where's the defense? 2 carries, 84 yards, and a pair of scores for him. Warriors will roll 62-zip.
Ontario continues to do what they've been doing since the whole season, but definitely since week 3. I think one of the scariest teams in the area.
I think this team's pretty scary too, that being the Crestview Cougars. They were on top 7-0 after Ross Kuhn's plunge. He'd run it in again here moments later. It's 14-0 in favor of the Cougs. Make it 21-zip on the first of 2 Chase Shiflett scoring runs. Cougars are going to move on to the second round. This is another one, was never close. 49-0, they blank them.
I'm a big Ross Kuhn guy. I love the job he does back there for those guys, and they're going to be a handful here going forward.
That is the Run Back, presented by Spherion, Mid-Ohio. Gentlemen, a few other scores from the area that we don't have video for. Galleon was a big winner, 55-7 over Lutheran West. Edison over Clear Fork, 35-28. That was a really close game. Rocky River, 29. Lexington, 7. And then Buckeye Central and South Central, both the Centrals, coming up with upsets, so they're advancing in the postseason. But I ask you, gentlemen, what was the most impressive win, in your opinion, from one of our area schools over the weekend? What'd you like, Curt?
The game I covered on Saturday night, I hadn't seen Ontario all season. They do a lot of things well, and Erik had said it a few times earlier in the year, and I'm a big believer in what they're doing out there right now.
You know, for me, I'm going to go 2. I'll start with Mansfield seniors while I covered them. Just literally, we show up at the stadium, we're setting up, and we're told that there's going to be a quarterback change because of eligibility issues or whatever. We're not going to get into that, but to have a freshman start, go in and start that game, and to get out of there with a win at all is impressive, and it helps when you have great defense and the athletes around a young quarterback to help. And then the other one's Buckeye Central. I mean, it had been a long time since they had gotten to win 30-some games. Not only do they get one earlier in the year, but then they come back and have a shocking win over an opponent I don't think many people thought they were going to get a win over. So Coach Jensen and his crew at Buckeye Central, kudos, man. That's awesome that you're moving
And
on.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Buckeye Central's first playoff victory since they lost in the state championship game to Marion Local in whatever year that was. So good for them.
Well, I think I'm going to agree with Curt. Seeing what Ontario did and the way that they got the ball rolling right now, and Ethan Snyder, dude, he leads the MOAC in every statistical category. Yeah. He was almost perfect in that game. Granted, it was against the Sailors defense that wasn't real good, but 11 of 14, 200-plus yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. That kid's got all the right moves right now, and I think Ontario's a really dangerous out as a 9 seed going on the road. We'll talk about their matchup here in a little bit. Mansfield Senior, as you mentioned, they had the unfortunate eligibility thing with Brock Hill. They play a freshman quarterback, Erik. You seen them. They had to eke it out. They got on the doorstep a couple of times and gave it away. What do you make of the Tigers? Do you think that it was more good defense that got them the win, or do you think that it was more bad offense that kind of kept the opponent in it?
Well, their defense is unreal. Mansfield, their defense was stupid good last year. That front four was the best front four maybe I've ever seen in my life. This year they're doing it a little bit differently, but it's equally as effective. They're very hard to score against. Their athletes put you in unique situations where you have a hard time calling an offense. The big difference between last year and this year is I really liked the quarterback play last year, obviously. Ellerby at the running back position was electric. Or Flickinger at the running back position. They're just really struggling to get the offense going. I've seen them weeks 2, 3, and then now 7. And the only offense that I really saw them when they really got it going was against Lexington. And I think sometimes, like I said at the time, I think we even talked here afterwards, that could have been the opponent at that point in time as much as it was them finding an offense. I do know this. Brock Hill is very dynamic, and him not playing definitely took points off the board. And with that being said, to finish up this this segment, the Tigers had the ball inside the red zone going to score, had an interception, and then they had a fumble inside the 2. So, both of those, it could have been very easily 21-3 as well.
Right.
Yeah, the fact that they won with just 200 yards of offense,
crazy.
Maybe impressive, more than concerning, because they held their opponent to less than 130, so that was awesome. Plymouth, Curt, me and you both saw them get their first ever playoff victory, and they got some big horses up front that can really control the line of scrimmage, and I think they even found throughout the course of the night that they got a few more playmakers that maybe they didn't even know. Yeah, and we spoke before that game, and I thought it would be a lot more competitive, quite frankly. I thought that David Anderson was coming from the Youngstown area, and traditionally it's a pretty rugged brand of football they play over there. But Plymouth pushed him around, and talking to Mark Genders afterward, he said, the David Anderson coaches were very complimentary and said they hadn't seen anyone as physical as Plymouth all season long. And I think what's actually really cool and unique about this season, of course, with everybody getting in, is that we're going to have some Cinderella stories. There's going to be some double-digit seeds that are going to make a run here, and you see what Loudonville did, for example, where they had one win all year. They hadn't scored more than 30 points all season, and then somehow, some way, on the road in the playoffs, that they find some offense. They get a freshman running back that goes berserk. South Central, Buckeye Central, like we talked about. So, man, I think we're going to get a little bit of chaos here over the next couple of weeks, and I kind of like it, guys. What say you after seeing one round of football? What do you think about this year?
No, I agree with you. I think the high seeds are still good. The higher seeds are still going to hold serve. I still think we're going to see blowouts in week 2. But just looking at, we've got a board over here with the matchups. I like both 12-5 seeds, region or Division 3, Region 10. And I really like the same thing with Hillsdale in Division 6. I think Hillsdale has a great opportunity. And it kind of blows me away that West Holme's actually a 12 seed. I think that they can score on just about anybody. And I have not seen Cloverleaf play. I know Coach Voorhees up there does a really nice job. He's a former, he was in the Firelands for a while. I can't remember exactly who he was with there. But good coach doing a nice job there. But West Holmes can put points up on anybody. And for them to be a 12 seed, that's just kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, the 12-5 with Hillsdale, I mean, it's no secret I'm from that area. I know a lot of the people over there. That said, I mean, the Wayne County Athletic League, I've always banged the drum for the Wayne County Athletic League. I think it's as physical as a small school conference outside of the MAC, I guess. And 6 of the 8 teams in the Wayne County League won this weekend or had first round bye. So 6 of the 8 are going to be playing in week 2. I think Hillsdale has a great chance to go to Pymatooning Valley, and I don't know where Pymatooning Valley is, to tell you the truth. I know it's far, far away. It's a 2.5-hour bus trip. They have a chance there to go and get a second win. And talking to Trevor Klein, the coach at Hillsdale, he says, the Wayne County League prepares us for anything we encounter here in the Division 6 postseason.
All right, so we're going to break down the brackets a little bit later. We'll show you the updated seeds and everybody who's going to be going head-to-head. And weigh in, of course, here on the Facebook. Got the phone out. Tell me, who was the most impressive win of the weekend to you, the folks at home? I've got the Warriors, as does Erik. So how do you feel about the Big O? I've seen some hearts coming in for them on the feed. But right now, let's think about last week. And to close up the regular season, we had 5 players nominated for the Phenom. It wasn't even close. Let's go ahead and show you who the winner was from Week 6. So after all the votes were tallied up, 80+% went to this kid right here from West Holmes, Peyton McKinney. He is our Friday Night Phenom from the regular season finale, Week 6. He absolutely tore it up. 5 touchdown passes in this game against Mount Vernon, and for that, he was awarded our Friday Night Phenom for Week 6. So congratulations to Peyton, and congratulations to West Holmes for moving on in the postseason. We're going to go ahead and take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to meet the nominees for week number 7 for Friday Night Phenoms. Also jump into the top plays. So keep it right here. The Saturday Pigskin on a Monday rolls on. Our first Phenom nominee this week comes from the Ontario Warriors, because this kid, Griffin Shaver, just about every time he touched the rock, something magical happened. 92 yards, 3 touchdowns, finding the end zone that many times from the wideout position. Always spectacular, Curt.
And he's a pretty doggone good basketball player, too. I think that first touchdown he scored, I think, was on 4th down. I might be mistaken. And that kind of really opened the floodgates. It was a 4th and 4 play, and all of a sudden, Vermilion, any thought they might have had of springing the upset kind of went out the window right there.
And just the many playmakers that they have on the Ontario offense, but this kid stepping in for the first time, had never played football before. Erik, really impressive stuff.
No, and this is why you want your basketball players playing football. This is a young man that has had an incredible senior year experience. I guarantee he is extremely excited and proud that he played this year, and the results and the fruit of that are definitely playing out for the Warriors.
This kid is just starting his high school career, but what a night for the freshman Sam Williams-Dixon. Big-time performance in a win on the road at Northmore, and to be that type of a bell cow, 34 carries as a kid who's probably only 14 years old, including plays like this where he just trucks through about 3 different nights. Unbelievable stuff.
I think there's something very compelling to be said about playing in a conference like the Principal's Athletic Conference that Loudonville is playing in now, and then you drop down and start playing Division VI opponents, and there's a world of difference.
Well, and just watching him run and navigate, he's got great vision, incredible balance, plays behind his pads. He's a natural runner. You're going to see a lot more plays like that in his career, I can guarantee you that.
Miles Bradley from Mansfield Senior is our next nominee, and he did it on both sides of the football. Had the only touchdown in the game in the victory against Sylvania. Also had a key interception, several tackles, made a play in the backfield. This kid really delivered from every position on the field.
Well, and if you were to watch this play from the beginning and be able to see it, he sets it up so well because he breaks down, sells the block, and then takes off. And then, just like you said, Brian, I mean, his effect on the game was huge. I think you can make a very strong argument. You know, you always say 1 of 11. He was the difference. They might have won because of him. He was all over the field. And they had an injury to Tyshandre Hall. he slid down into that J backer, as you would say, that end, and just killed people off the edge.
Speaking of killing people, Brady Taylor was killing Madison all night long. 3 catches was all he needed to score 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards on those receptions, and they only handed it to him one time. That's all he needed to, because he broke loose for 6 on that one as well. Just a perfect, flawless performance.
I'm not a mathematician, but 3 catches and 100 yards. I'm pretty sure that's about 35 yards a reception, and then 1 carry for 77. That's doing the job.
Yeah, super dynamic playmaker. Obviously, he's got the vision and the speed here. Anytime you can make 1 cut and then be gone, it's just a special type of kid to hand the football to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you have the ability to score from anywhere on the field, you scare the life out of the defense.
And he's also got great hands. Look at that body control to keep it inbounds. Brady Taylor, well worthy of being a nominee this week. Our final one, Stephen Bird tore it up for Canal Winchester at Mount Vernon. 4 rushing touchdowns, so he certainly had a nose for the end zone, and he toted the rock a whole bunch of times. 122 yards for him. They fell behind early, but then this kid got it going. He's got some wheels. He had some stamina too as they kept feeding him, and he got it done.
Well, and I know that league that they play in down around Columbus. I mean, they're playing really tough competition. Mount Vernon, the graduation hit them tough from 2020's graduation. So now, they're reeling from trying to figure things out offensively. But this young man obviously had a night to be remembered, and then now he's somebody else's problem next week. Yeah,
I heard a Mike Kerr interview on the radio, Mount Vernon's coach, and he said they just didn't have an answer for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
So those are your nominees, Friday Night Phenoms for Week 7, Playoff Edition. Last week, we had 5 plays enter for the top play of the week. Only 1 could survive, though, according to you, the people of North Central Ohio. And after we tallied up all the votes, this is who you guys chose. Have got Merritt Key of Monroeville with the all halfback pass. How about that? They didn't get the win in that game, but probably getting a consolation t-shirt is a good backup prize. Look at the lefty. Step, throw deep, on the money, on the run. That is your top play for week number 6. What do you think, guys?
I love seeing a left-hander throw the football, being a left-hander myself. Monroeville is not necessarily known for doing things like that, but it's kind of neat to see him turn to the final page of the playbook.
Well, and here's the cool thing is, how many times do you run things like that in your backyard when you're a kid? You need to be able to run it on a Friday night in a big, Firelands Conference game, conference championships on the line there, both schools. Those are the ones that you're just hoping you don't screw it up, and they executed it really well.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and check out the nominees, the top 5 plays for this week, presented by Spherion, Mid-Ohio. Nominee number 1, it's 4th down for Ontario, and Griffin Shaver gonna get the chains moving and way more. 6 sailors have a shot at him, but they all sink as Shaver swims free for 49 yards, all the way in for Pater. And let's slow it down for you kids out there. Peep the full-size serving of tasty treats with some shake, rattle, and then Griffin eventually about to roll all the way to the zone. Warriors won big too, 62-zip.
Yeah, it's. We've already talked about it. He's a guy who can change the complexion of a game.
Nominee number 2, and don't let the low snap distract you from the fact that play right there is set up for Amar David to throw it, wide receiver toss, and wide open on the other end is Miles Bradley, who coasts in for the touchdown, 59 yards, and Senior High needed this one bad too to only score for them in the win.
Well, and another one of those plays that a lot of teams do in practice, but you actually have the courage to call in the game. And not only that, but Amar's a freshman. So for him to make that play in that situation, which turns out to be the winning play, is absolutely huge.
Great play design and execution there. At numero Trace, let's go to the castle. where we got Sam Williams-Dixon about to breach into the end zone perimeter as he takes down a couple of Knights along the way. Just a freshman, but he's got some of that old man strength deep inside of his loins. Boys, check this out. He's like a battering ram once he gets a full head of steam, and pretty much nobody should have gotten his way.
Watch this one. Come here.
Bye.
That one right there, yeah. That's
off.
where you leave carnage, and the next stop's the end zone. So, like I said, I think he's only going to get bigger, faster, stronger.
All right, let's go to numero cuatro now, where it is a block party at Plymouth, and Noah Trimmer's bringing some pigskin that you can scoop and devour on the run. 57 yards, he goes all the way through to the back of the end zone for bonus yards there. Big Red win their first ever playoff game, but no play, in my opinion, in this game was bigger than that one, Curt.
No, and that kind of sealed the deal for I think it was early in the second half, and after that it was all Big Red.
You know, and those plays always make me laugh because if you're going to do that, make sure you get yourself back a little bit, because that was probably one of those plays where the quarterback just backed up and he didn't get himself back far enough. And that's the result if you don't execute that thing at a really high level and you don't get good protection up front.
And I love the heads-up play by Trimmer. Like, he was swarmed, a whole bunch of people around, and he was like, oh, look what I found, and then he goes scooting into the end zone. Finally, we've already seen this play, but how about Brady Taylor of West Holmes, as it's out in Amish country, but he's moving faster than a full speed buggy down the sideline, ghost all the way 77 yards in for the score. And check this out one more time. All it takes is one little cut, and then he's got the speed to get going.
I wouldn't want to play the West Holmes Knights in the second round of the playoffs, that's for sure.
No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, you probably need a real horse and buggy if you were going to try to catch him on this one. Unbelievable speed, and that's why he is a top play nominee for this one right here. So these are your 5 nominees of the week. Of course, you, the folks at home, get to decide what is the best of the best. Weigh in with your votes on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Twitter, and let me know what was the top play of the week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take one more time out, and when we come back, we've got the updated brackets. We're going to show you who's playing who this next week. Stay with us. As we welcome you back to the Monday Pigskin, we're going to take a look at the brackets for 4 different divisions, beginning with Division 3, Region 10, where we've got a couple of local teams on there. You see, a whole bunch of people are still left, but probably the most interesting game here in our neck of the woods has to be at Community Stadium, where the number 2 Ashland Arrows will get a rematch with Mansfield Senior, the 15 seed, coming up on Friday night. Gentlemen, just weigh in with your thoughts. It was a really close game, 7-point game the first time they met.
Yeah, I spoke to Chioke Bradley, I think, last week, and he said, you know, we may have gotten more out of that loss than Ashland got winning that game. He said they learned a lot about themselves and a lot about their opponent. There's not a whole lot of secrets, I can't imagine, between Ashland and Mansfield Senior right now. So, I mean, they're just going to line up and get after it.
Well, and having Chioke back on the sidelines is huge. And then you turn around, and I agree with Coach Bradley, because their defense always travels, and their defense is going to be right there. I'm going to be curious to see if they can manufacture points to even get 2 or 3 scores. That may be all they need to get a win.
Sure.
I just don't see anybody throwing up 35 or 42 points on that senior high defense. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. So I agree with you. I think it's more of Ashland than more than just a basic coin flip. I think I give Ashland a little bit more of a nod than that. But that game is not a traditional 2-15 matchup.
And we were talking a little bit earlier about West Holmes as a 12 seed, and I know that it's college basketball, but the same type of crossover here, that 12-5, it looks a little bit dangerous with the Knights sitting there. I also am a pretty big fan of River Valley, have been all year, so I think 2 really fun matchups, them against Holy Name, and then going toe-to-toe with Cloverleaf, West Holmes.
Yeah, we saw Holy Name last year against Mansfield Senior, I think, in the second or maybe third round. I was impressed last year with that team. They had a whole bunch of athletes to throw at Mansfield Senior's athletes. I don't know how many of those kids are back, but that'll be a fun one to watch. Yeah, and West Holmes. I mean, they've been putting it on some people here recently, including they scored 35 unanswered against Ashland in the second half. So that's a team that I wouldn't want to run into.
No, I agree with you. And looking at this bracket, I'm telling you, man, if West Holmes gets by Cloverleaf, don't be surprised if you see a West Holmes Columbian matchup. I really like what they bring to the table. I think their defense is pretty good, but when you can throw it around the yard, you're never out of a game. And I think with them having the ability to get the ball to their athletes in various ways, and then those guys have the ability to take it yard, that's a scary combination for them. Holy Name, I agree with you, is a tough team. I know they had some young guys on that roster last year. I'm interested to see how River Valley does this week. The last time I saw them, they got bounced pretty hard by Shelby over at Skiles, but I think that was a combination of Shelby's pretty good, but I also think River Valley, for whatever reason, I don't think we saw their A game that night. I don't think that was the River Valley team that any of us were expecting to see. So if we get that River Valley team that we all think that they can be, that can be a tricky game.
All right, so that's Division III, Region 10. Speaking of the Shelby Whippets, let's move on now to Region 14, that being Division 4, where Shelby, sitting at the bottom there, the number 2 seed, taking on Rossford, and then up at the top, interesting matchup. I think a lot of people are going to overlook the Galleon Tigers as a 16 seed, but I can tell you folks this at home. 2 of their losses this year, of their 3, they were without 2 of their top playmakers. So the fact that they're at full strength right now, and they had a couple of kids that got to get a little bit healthy, I think that the Tigers are going to be a lot harder out for the Redmen than maybe a lot think.
Yeah, and that's an old NOL matchup. Bellevue, Galleon. I mean, those guys, for so many years were familiar with each other. 2 completely different styles of offense. Bellevue's going to run their quarterback, the Ray kid, 40 times a game.
Yes, they do.
And they've got to try to stop him. Because that's what I said, you're going to know it's coming, but good luck stopping it. Ed Nasani, to me, one of the best in the business, might be the best in the business right now. And, Coach Dick's got a nice team with some nice athletes, like his quarterback. Love having the Donaldson kid back. If Galleon can get out to a couple score lead, I think that really puts Bellevue the way that they play behind the 8 ball. That Ontario-Kenton game, I'm telling you.
How much fun is be?
Well, they're similar. It's like looking in the mirror.
Sure.
This could be a 42, 35, 49. I mean, this could be what we saw with Alabama and Ole Miss. I mean, this could end up being in the 50s with 1,300 yards of offense. I mean, that's, Curt's going to that game. I'm kind of jealous of him getting to go to that game because I think there's going to be an offensive explosion. I actually like Ontario in that game. I think Ontario's playing with the hottest hand you can be playing with right now.
Yeah, 5 in a row I think they've won.
Yeah,
they haven't lost since week 2,
spot.
and they are, if last week was any indication, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with them right now either.
Right. Well, and just looking, Curt and I were looking at this region sitting down over on the chairs. We were getting ready to prep for this, and what a region. Like, look at this bracket. I mean, this is an unbelievable bracket. I'll tell you what, if you're Shelby, holy cow, after you got to get by Rossford, but then after that, you're talking about Napoleon, potentially Huron. Clyde, by the way, Clyde's your Division IV state champion. And then you've got Wauseon, who's always a perennial power coming out of Northwest Ohio. That is a gauntlet schedule. And I'm telling you, I talked to a real good friend of mine up in the SBC, coaches at one of the SBC schools, and he said, do not sleep on Huron. He said, they are legit, they're good, they're complete, and he said they could win that region.
I spoke to Rob Mahaney, it was during a regular season game, and he said, they were looking forward to that bye so they can get some people healthy. So if Shelby can come back at full strength, and you probably have a little bit more knowledge on that than me, but if they can get Merrick Albert back and if they can get Owen Fisher back, Shelby at full strength is scary.
No, I agree, and Merrick is back this week.
Heard that.
Owen's feeling pretty darn good.
Right.
Of course, that's seeing him move around the hallways.
Sure.
Marshall Shepard's playing really, really
Right.
well. You've got a plethora of athletes. I mean, they're not lacking on any receiving athletes. And defensively, I think we've talked so much about their offense. Their defense has been lights out this year. And what they've done is they've developed depth with some of their injuries and situations there with like a Xander Wilkins, who's a stud, who was unable to play. Merrick, obviously, we talked about him being out. And I think Carson Ingram's been playing lights out at linebacker for him. Shelby is definitely good enough to win this region. But when you look at their track to get there, to me, it's significantly more difficult than the upper part of that region, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough path for them, but I think the fact that they do get Merrick Albert back starting this week, the fact that Owen Fisher got to hang out for a week and not put his body under a lot of stress, I think that's going to bode really well for Shelby moving forward.
And to have Merrick at one end and the Zahner kid at the other end, that's a handful.
Yeah, Zahner has played absolutely incredible this year, and he is physically a man.
Right.
I mean, that guy, he's one of those guys you want to get off the bus when their team shows up. Send Nathan Zahner out because he passes the look test.
All right, so there's a look at Division 4, Region 14. Let's move on now. Check out D6, Region 22, where the top dog out there is Archbald, but down at the bottom, Colonel Crawford, right here from Crawford County, they're going to get another matchup against Seneca East. They handled them very easily during the regular season. And then a great matchup, the one that I'm most interested about this next weekend, Cary Crestview. Talking about a Devils team has not allowed a point at home all year versus a Crestview team that's averaging about 45 a game right now, like about their last 5. So it's a battle of strength for strength.
Yeah, and that's a matchup thing, I would think. Right. I mean, if Crestview if they can get the score in the 30s or 40s, then you like Crestview. If it's a 14-7 game, you probably like Cary there. But Crestview is doing so many things well right now. I think, like I said earlier, Ross Kuhn, I'm a big believer. I saw him a little bit last year, and he's done nothing to change my opinion of him this year.
Right, and it's funny seeing Liberty Center down at a 7. I mean, that's been a consistent staple in that Region 22, Division 6 for years. And then Archibald, I believe, plays in the same conference as like a Wasion, Swanson, those teams. So I know that's good. But getting back to the Cary Crestview game, I'm trying to figure out how Cary and Crestview ended up being 8 and 9 as well. I feel like that they might be a touch better than that, even seeding wise. But I wouldn't want to be Archibald. I think Cary or Crestview coming out of that 8-9 seed, that's not a favorable matchup if you're Archibald. I love Colonel Crawford in that lower bracket. I think that they've got it wouldn't surprise me at all if Colonel Crawford ends up getting to a state Final Four.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you, and I kind of like their path.
Yeah.
I've at least seen Western Reserve in person. They were absolutely decimated by graduation last year. This is a brand new team, and granted, they've probably gotten a lot better since I've seen them about week 3. But you got to imagine if they get to face a team like that, Liberty Center, like you said, normally a top seed, maybe could be a tough out. But gosh, the Eagles, man, they're just so loaded this year. They're one of those situations like I feel like at what Shelby has going on. They almost have too many good athletes, too many good kids to get the ball to. That's a great problem to have, Erik.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And getting back to that Liberty Center Western Reserve, Coach Stevenson's done such a great job with that group. And you look at Liberty Center, people don't realize, people take this for granted, the culture of winning. Because when you get in those 50-50 games, when you've won for a long period of time, the expectation just culturally is we will find a way to win. You don't even doubt that. So before you go into a game, you feel like you can take anybody on. And it works the opposite way with a losing culture where you feel like you can, you're not going to be able to make the plays. And I'm not saying that with Western Reserve, but I'm just using that to highlight, Liberty Center. But man, Colonel Crawford, I think that they've got the perfect thing going on this year. I think this is a nice lightning in a bottle for Coach Teklevic, and I think he's going to take this thing for a pretty good ride.
Yeah, Sherwood Fairview, I think, is a team that is to be reckoned with there. They're the 3 seed. They play Bluffton. who evidently upset somebody in the opening round if they're coming in as a 19. Fairview perennially that they've been there for a lot of years, and I wouldn't sleep on them either.
All right, speaking of a team that's been there for a lot of years, as we turn the tide now, let's go to Division 7, check out Region 25, and how about the Lucas Cubs as your number 2 seed? And we all know what they did a season ago, getting all the way to the state championship game. They're reloaded once again, taking on a 15 seed in their opening round matchup. JFK Catholic all the way up at the top, could be a potential regional championship type of showdown with the Cubs, but definitely I think we all gotta like Lucas, at least playing at home for the first time this season. They get to go to the friendly confines of Bob Wine. I imagine the few people that are going to be let inside is going to be nuts.
A Cuyahoga Heights team that they played, if I'm not mistaken, in the regional championship game last year, and it came down to a fumble on the goal line in the fourth quarter. So I know Cuyahoga Heights was a senior-dominated team last year. I'm sure they look dramatically different, as does Lucas. But it's always fun when there's some history there.
Right, and JFK, I believe in 2016 won the state championship. So the kids would have been in middle school, when that was going on. So I'm sure they're excited to get back and get the winning ways going on there. I really like Lucas this week. I think the next week, I think Monroeville can actually give. I like Monroeville in their game against Independence. South Central, I believe, is up there at the top against Malvern. I believe that that's probably going to be the end for South Central. I think that they're going to go ahead and take that first playoff, and then that first playoff appearance and victory. I think they're going to, I think that stops there. The St. Paul is really interesting to me because we've just got done talking about the winning culture.
Yeah, 8 seed.
Yeah, I know this is not a vintage, St. Paul team, but still, do you really want to play St. Paul if you're the 1 seed in your third round? Well, it would be the third round, but for JFK, it would be their second game. I'm really, curious looking at 4 and 13 because, Plymouth has done some nice things this year. They got a really solid running game. I know they run a similar offense to Lucas. Right. You can speak a little bit more into Dalton. So what do you think about that?
I think Dalton was I think they finished second or third in the Wayne County League. The third best team in the Wayne County League is still a pretty good. It's still a pretty good football team. Going on the road is going to be a big ask for Plymouth. But I mean, if they can control the clock, like Lucas does, and they're running an offense very much similar to what Lucas runs, and then they can absolutely be in the game.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. I think there's a lot of great second-round matchups right here in this region. Look out for Buckeye Central at the 19 seed to keep
I love it, man. I love it.
Moving forward.
Yeah, I apologize we didn't bring up Coach Jensen and his Buckeye Central team there because I'll tell you what a great win they had though. I'm telling you, I guarantee over there, like I said, if he shows up at the Mickey Mark there, you better buy him a Yoo-hoo.
I don't know where that game was. It was far, far away in that region, but that was probably an awful fun bus ride home.
Right. I think you can still smell some of the Yoo-hoo traces over there from the celebration over the weekend, no doubt about that. All right, that's going to wrap up our look inside of the brackets here for those 4 regions. Lots of local teams, of course, still floating around and looking to make a run for state championships. So we'll keep following them as they go, gentlemen. Hey, that's going to do it for tonight. Guys did a great job, as always. Always a lot of fun to have you back in here. And, man, how crazy is this playoffs? When you still look at all the teams that are in it, the fact that Buckeye Central is still in the playoffs.
They're in it, baby.
Yeah. Come on now. Can't get much better than this.
It's like Hofstra winning in the end, beating the – this really is cool. I mean, if nothing else, it really is cool for a year. Like, I agree with you. It's just I want it for a year, but it's fun. We're sitting here looking at all these teams get a chance to play, looking at schools that have never been in. They've got, not only do they get in, they win.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Everybody in the pool. It's all swim in the high school football playoffs.
That's good.
All right. Well, we're going to jump out of the pool now, at least for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching this special Monday edition of the Pigskin. We'll be back here next Monday night at the same time, so make sure that you catch us then. So long for now.